Greetings, fans of My Day, My Story. It's good to be back with you again after a break to configure the Lesson Legacy Studio so that it will accommodate our future guests. If you look back there, you may not be able to see it clearly, but my executive producer, Mr. Brian Lesan, has taken time out to reconfigure the studio, the Lesan Legacy Studio. So we missed a few episodes, but we are back in action. And so today's topic, ladies and gentlemen, lovers of My Day, My Story, is about a trending situation, a trending story that just won't die. It is about a young musician named Mohbad, spelled Mohbad. So, let me ask you, who do you think Mohbad is? Who is Mohbad? This name has been trending now for about 8 months. So let's dig deep into who Mohbad is. Mohbad, born on January 3, 1996, and answered the call of his maker on September 23, 2023. Now that this podcast is made possible in May, that makes it 8 months ago. So why is his death still a story that just won't go away? Well, your guess is as good as mine. There are so many mysteries surrounding the death of Mr. IleriOluwa Oladimeji Mohbad, whose name has become a lot more popular in death than when he was alive. And the reason for that is that his death is shrouded in a lot of mysteries. Well, Mr. IleriOluwa Oladimeji Mohbad, who we are going to refer to from this point on as simply Mohbad, his popular stage name, was a musician. He, let me use the word that a lot of bloggers in Nigeria use. He died on the 12th of September, 2023. And on the date of this podcast, that was almost 8 months ago. And as I said earlier, his death is shrouded in a lot of mysteries. And so he was buried, but then exhumed like a few days later on the 21st of September, 2023. And so the rallying cry of his fans and family members and those who loved his music has been that they want justice for Mohbad. So investigations into his death ensued by the Lagos State Police Command. Now, during this investigation, it will interest you to know that a lot of names popped up, a myriad of names. The shroud of mystery surrounding Mohbad's demise brought up several names from royalty to close friends and associates. Some of these names you will be familiar with: Naira Marley, Sam Larry, Bella Shmurda, Prime Boy, and of course, his widow, Wumi Aloba. Now, beyond that, family names popped up also. Mr. Joseph, referred to as Josie Aloba, Mohbad's father, and Miss Abosede, Mohbad's mom. And so, as I said earlier, Mohbad's death has been shrouded in mysteries. So questions are floating around that have not been answered. Questions like, why was Mohbad's body allegedly embalmed just hours after his demise in the absence of his family members, including his parents? Is that how it's done? Why was his father, Mr. Joseph, referred to by family members as Josie Aloba, misinformed about his son's death? So, how did that misinformation come about? His dad was called, Mohbad's dad, that is, was called and told that Mohbad was quote unquote sick. And that became a worrisome situation for him. And so he said that he will be there to see his son. But guess what? Halfway through his journey to the Lagos residence of Mohbad, he received a call, a strange call that is, that his son has suddenly been cured of his quote-unquote sickness. And because that sounded so far-fetched, Mr. Aloba said, guess what? Don't worry about it. You're asking me to turn around and that my son is sick? Let me confirm that. So he continued on his journey to see Mohbad, who supposedly was in his sick bed. But to the surprise of Mr. Aloba, he arrived at the residence of Mohbad, and what he saw would surprise any father. His son was laying under the staircase to the upper bedroom where he and Mohbad usually meet. So he continued up there only to find that Mohbad's bedsheet was soaked in blood. Wow. No father will ever want to see such a situation. And so he came back down to find out what happened. First, he was misinformed that Mohbad was just sick and nothing more. Secondly, he was told that he could just turn around because it wouldn't be necessary for him to complete that journey to see his quote-unquote sick son. And so, after that, he said, according to the account that Mr. Aloba gave, he said a bowl of salt was placed on the chest of Mohbad's body, on Mohbad's body. And that, according to Mohbad's uncle, who performed the embalmment, he became an emergency funeral director. That was to preserve his body. Long story short about the body of Mohbad, his body was taken to the nearest police station so that they can obtain a death certificate. But no such thing will happen because they didn't get cooperation from the police department in Lagos. And the family members who were present hours, at least 48 hours before Mohbad's death, had no information as to who should give the death certificate. And so, friends and family members who were with him couldn't help. And the last thing that they had to do was to take the body to a burial site. So, if you're following this story, he died, Mohbad died. His death was surrounded by a lot of mysteries. And so, law enforcement agents got involved. The day following his death, which was September 13th of 2023, he was, should we say, hurriedly buried? He was buried. And then investigation into his death began in earnest. Police had a lot of questions that have not been answered. All these unanswered questions form the basis of why his fans worldwide suspected that his demise is covered in mystery, and why his father, Mr. Aloba, insisted that Mohbad's body should not be buried until there is a conclusive answer to situations surrounding his death. And so, as we speak, today being the 7th day of May 2024, 8 months after Mohbad's death, there still have been unanswered questions. Some of these questions surround why the owner of Malian Records, Naira Marley, and his partner or business partner, that's Sam Larry, who were outside the country at the time of Mohbad's death, were arrested, questioned, detained for weeks. Yet, family members, including his widow, Mohbad's wife, Wumi, is still going around free, no questions asked, and his uncle, named Darosha, who performed the emergency embalmment, who became like a makeshift funeral director, who was preserving Mohbad's body without the knowledge of his parents at that time. They're still roaming around without any consequences. In a country such as the US, where this podcast is being recorded at, such may not be the case. But then, some of the unresolved questions concerning Mohbad's death is that there are the high and mighty, from royal fathers to very close friends, whose, we're not going to say participation, but whose knowledge about what led to Mohbad's death have not been questioned. Any question asked turns into arrest by the police, and so the questions still persist. In the meantime, Mohbad's body reposes in the morgue, awaiting justice. So, in the midst of all of this, several bloggers have made a career out of asking for justice for Mohbad. So you will not be surprised if you type in hashtag justice for Mohbad, you will come up with a lot of the questions that people are asking. I had to do a quick test of how popular Mohbad was. And of course, something strange happened. Mohbad, who was 27 years old at the time of his demise, became more popular in death than when he was alive. His record sold millions and millions. And so royalties are pouring in. But then the paternity of the only son, who was 5 months old at the time of his by, again, I'm using that word to substitute for, DEATH. The paternity of Liam, his son, who was 5 years old at the time of his demise, is still in question. Names are being bandied around to find out if Mohbad was the real father of Liam. Big names, huge names in the legal world are getting involved. And because it's not a mystery to celebrity issues in Nigeria, Baba Falana, SAN, and many other legal practitioners of repute in Nigeria are involved in this. To get to the bottom of what caused Mohbad's death, a coroner inquest has been put in place, yet it's like the most difficult death that has ever been treated in Nigeria. Because 8 months later, this body is still languishing at the morgue. Concerning this particular podcast, I had to test if my children know who Mohbad was. Because they are millennials, I was expecting that they would know. Some of them knew, but a couple of them did not know who Mohbad was, which was the case with me. As a matter of fact, I had to ask a couple of people in my generation. That's not to reveal what my age is or to suggest that I am an old dude or anything like that. But a lot of people in my generation did not know who Mohbad was. But now, because bloggers would not let go of this subject until justice is served, a lot of people are getting to know. So hashtag justice for Mohbad is a big thing on the internet. Investigation is still ongoing, and it is hoped that this gentleman, of blessed memory, will receive justice. The paternity of his son, Liam, will be determined. And part of the mystery surrounding his death was that his father, Mr. Joseph Aloba, is asking for two things. He's asking for paternity test, DNA test, to determine if Liam is actually his grandson. And for the police to get to the bottom of who killed, that was the word he used. How did Mohbad die? Because family members who were with him 48 hours before he breathed his last have not been arrested. Everyone is still roaming around freely. Yet, his business partners who were out of the country at the time of his buy are being questioned. They were delayed. They were detained by the police, by law enforcement for weeks. Although they have been released, the questions still swirl around them until Mohbad's death is conclusively investigated. And so, in the comment section, I would say make comments and see if the explanations given by yours truly, par excellence, concerning these questions surrounding Mohbad's death, if there are questions that need to be asked, let us know in the comment section. And as we move on to other topics, I want to let you know that some of our guests will be interviewed in the coming episodes. Yet, there is another celebrity whose name is trending in the Nigerian circle. I'm not going to make it a mystery. She's name, and that she's is not an accident. He's a cross-dresser, dresses as a woman, but has been confirmed to be a man. Bobrisky. Hashtag Bobrisky. The case that sent him to prison will be discussed. The reason that my story is exploring these stories is that as much as we love what's going on in Nigeria, a lot of these things are stranger than fiction. It's like Ripley's Believe It or Not, that our celebrity as big as Bobrisky can be jailed, while another person who committed the same offense, maybe even on a larger scale than Bobrisky, is going to go home free. We'll discuss that too. So in the meantime, share this podcast, like it, subscribe to it, and we'll see you next time as we answer some of the questions in the comment section and endeavor to bring you a lot of these topics that will interest you, entertain you. In the meantime, I say thank you. It's MC Par Excellence. Podcasting My Day, My Story.